Hello everyone. The title of today's lecture is Functions and their Graphs Part 2. So, it is the outline of today's lecture. We'll be covering what are piecewise defined functions and we're going to discuss one of its special case in the form of modulus functions, and it's also known as absolute value function. After that, we'll be discussing what is the greatest integer function, which is very important. Finally, these three outlines will be discussed: what is an identity function, constant function, and the polynomial function with their graphs. So let's start with today's lecture. Now let's try to understand what are piecewise defined functions. So piecewise defined function can be understood as a function when we divide the value of the function based on different parts of its domain. So such a function is called a piecewise defined function. The word piecewise itself says that you are dividing the domain into some pieces. So let's understand with the help of an example. So the example which I am taking is this modulus or absolute value function. How this is defined? Let's try to see this. This is given by fx equals to modulus of x. This quantity is called the modulus and it gives the value which we input in this function. So now, what are the values which we can input is the whole set of real numbers line. This function is defined for all real numbers. Now how it is defined this further? Now I'm dividing this function into two parts based on the parts of its domain. This function gives the value x and minus x. These two values this function assumes. When this function is going to give you a value of x, when your x is non-negative, and minus of x when your x is negative. So this is, if you see here, this is where the division comes. This is the division of the domain. Your domain was your x. This x was defined from this set of real numbers. So how you have divided this set into union of two intervals, all the values which are greater than equals to 0. So basically you are talking this of this interval, and in the second case you are talking this interval. Fine. So this is how this function is defined piecewise. These are the two important pieces of our domain. Now this is the definition of this function. Let's take an example to understand this. Now if I choose a value lying in this particular part of the domain, suppose say I choose x equals to 2, then the value of this is 2 itself, the value substituted, because your input lies in this part of the domain. However, if we choose a negative value, that is, if I choose a value which lies in this particular interval, suppose say value -1, then the answer to this particular input is given by negative times of the input. So negative times, what was your input? Your input was -1, so the answer is 1. So in both the cases, if you see whether you choose the value from this part of the domain or this part of the domain, your answer is always positive, or it max it can be 0. When it will be 0, when you choose the input to be 0 itself. Modulus of 0 is defined to be 0. In all the three cases, the values are always greater than equals to 0. So we can say that our function modulus of x always admits a value greater than equals to 0. So the values which we are getting are the value of the function, and indeed these are range. What is, if I collect all the possible images corresponding to all the possible values of the domain, so such a collection will be collection of the range set. Let's now try to understand this function with the help of its graph. So let me rub this. This is important for us. We'll be discussing this later on now. So if I now just plot my xy plane, here it is, and take the origin here. Now if I choose the value 0, then I found the output to be 0 itself. On any positive value, that is any value which lying in this part of our domain, so this is nothing. Yeah. So if I choose x to be 1, the output was 1 itself, modulus 1, which is defined to be the x itself which you give. So the answer is 1. This is the image. This is your image corresponding to this input. This is your input value. So the output is also same. If you substitute 2, the output will also be 2. Similarly, if you choose a negative value, suppose say -1 and -2, then the answer will be 1 and the answer will be answer will be 2 itself. You can just verify using the definition, it will be same. So now to plot its graph, I am going to join the points which I have just plotted using this straight line. So the graph will be a V-shaped curve, something like this. So this part of the curve is represented by this section of the graph, fx equals to x. Of course, the x which I have restricted is on the non-negative part. The values which I can take are only non-negative, either greater than 0, strictly positive, or 0 itself. And the second case is fx equals to minus of x, when my x is negative. So this is how I have divided the original function piecewise based on its domain. So this is also an absolute value function. Let's now move ahead and try to understand what is the greatest integer function. The next is greatest integer function. The notation for denoting this function is this. I'm going to tell you why this is, the notation is something like this, and this is also sometimes called as the floor function. Fine. So how this greatest integer function is defined? Whatever the real number, you will going to give it as an input. So what I am saying, your fx is this. This is the notation for greatest integer less than equal to x. Greatest integer function. This is the notation for greatest integer function. So this x is defined for all values of r. So your domain in this case is a set of real number itself. We'll try to understand what are the possible output values it will going to admit. How this function is defined, whatever the real number you give it as an input, it takes the greatest integer value less than or equal to that number. So what is the definition? Definition of this, it will take the greatest integer less than or equal to x. So suppose let's choose an x. Let me give you clarity. I'm going to plot it simultaneously. So if I choose, suppose say a value of x, I choose x equals to my half. This is a input which I can take because I am free to take any real number. So I in particular chose x equals to half. So greatest integer of half will be an integer. Suppose here is your 0. This is your half which you have just chosen. Now what is the, try to observe something now first. This is 1, this is 2, this is your 0 here, this is -1, this is -2. So all the integers are lying over this real number line. Your output will be an integer less than or equal to the value of input you give. So first, an observation which we have to make, the input is not an integer. So definitely the output which you're going to get is certainly an integer on its left, nearest. So if you see x equals to half lies here, and what is the integer, nearest integer lies to its left is 0. Lies to its left is 0. Choose on the left side of half. So this is the integer which lies on its left side. So the output is 0. Now if I choose an input, suppose here. This is my input. So in this particular case, you can write it like your f of 1 by 2 is 0. If you choose an input, suppose minus half, the output, this is your input value, this is your input value. In this particular case, this is your input. So what is the output in this particular case? If you observe, again you have to choose a greatest integer less than that or equal to that value. The case of equal to cannot hold because it is not an integer. So definitely the output will be an integer less than that number. The number which we chose is minus half, minus 0.5. So the integer less than that input is minus 1 on its left. So the answer which it emits is minus 1. So if I now try to plot those inputs which I have just chosen, you observe something. I choose a value, but the output is this. So this is the point of interest. If I were supposed to choose an input here, the output would be like here only. Whatever the value you choose, even if you choose 0 itself, the output is again 0. So because in that particular case the equal to sign will hold. Fine. So now we have understood how it is defined. We're now going to sketch its graph entirely on the real number line. So let's move ahead. We're going to plot its graph now by substituting some values from its domain and going to identify the corresponding images. So if you see here, if I choose any value less than 1, if I choose a value less than 1 and of course greater than 0 for time being, if my x lies between this, then you see whatever the x I choose in this particular case, the output is 0 always. If I choose my x to lie between 0 and 1, so the greatest integer less than or equal to any value here, the output is 0 itself. So this is whatever the input you choose, the output is 0. So the y coordinate is always 0. The x coordinate which I am taking is varying over this interval. So your possible choice of x lies over here. And the y values remain the 0 itself. So the output of the function is 0. So the function is constant, 0 function. The function is 0 here. So this is the value of the function. Indeed, if I choose my x to be 0, the value of the function from the domain to be 0, the output was 0 again. So at 0, I am getting 0 value. But at x equals to, now if I try to observe something, if I choose any value greater than 1, suppose let's choose an x equals to 3 by 2. X equals to 3 by 2, that is 1.5 in decimals. So the greatest integer of x is greatest integer of 1.5. Answer is 1. Integer less than the input. Whatever the number you are giving it as an input, the greatest integer, the output is a value less than or equal to greatest integer less than or equal to that x. So the output is 1 value. So the value 1 lies over here. So corresponding to all those inputs, the output is same. Even at x equals to 1, the output is 1. For any values strictly less than 2, the output lies over here, the constant 1. Are you getting it? Fine. So for x equals to 2, the output will be 2. And for any value strictly less than 3, there will be a gap, like here. Fine. This gap denotes all the values strictly less than 2, and at x equals to 2, it assumes the value 2 itself. Fine. So it will be like here there will be a gap, and you will join it like this in smooth pieces in the continuous, these finite line segments. Similarly, you can extend it. You can see yourself by trying to pause the video and think over it once, that what will happen when you will going to move on the left side of the 0. So the function will look something like this. In this case also, at -1, the output is -1, and all the values lying over here, the output is -1. So there is a gap, because at 0 the value is 0, so you are not assuming this value, the gap shows. Likewise, we can continue at -2 this, and there is a gap. So this way, this is the -3 value, this is -1, this value, this is -2, this is -3. So in this way the graph looks like. And now I'm going to tell you why this is called a floor function, because if you see, this is how you are going from one floor to the another. You are jumping basically. So these are kind of the stairs. Fine. So let's now move ahead to our next outline. Now let's move ahead into the outline and we'll try to understand what is an identity function. So the first keyword of this function, identity, itself suggests how it will be defined. So whatever the input you give to this function, the output is also same. That is why they are identical in the sense. So that's why this function is called identity function. It is very simple. Now let's try to plot its graph in order to get a good clarity. So again, I ask you to first answer me what is its domain. So it's very easy. This function is defined for every value of x. So x belongs to this set capital R. So the domain of the function f in our case will be whole set of real numbers -infinity to infinity, this open interval, or you can write it like in this set theoretic notation, this bold capital R. Now let's take any value. Suppose I choose this is a 0. Now if I choose my x to be 0, my output f of 0 is 0. So the ordered pair which I need to plot is 0, 0. So it lies over here. If I choose x to be 1, the output will be 1 itself. You fix 1 here, the output is 1. So the output is 1. Likewise, if I choose x to be -1, the value is -1 itself. The value of the function is -1. So it -1, -1. This is the ordered pair which I am plotting here. You can see it. X equals to -1 and f of -1, how it will be defined? Substitute the same value. So it is here. You can continue plotting some more points and easily you can now sketch its graph. The graph will be a straight line, but it will be a something like this, straight line passing through origin. So such a function is called identity function, and it is of very important interest to us because in the coming chapters later on, this function will be very helpful for us. So that's how this function is defined. So now let's move ahead to the next outline. Let's now try to understand what is a constant function. So itself the first keyword suggests constant. So what it means basically, whatever the input you are giving to this function, the output is a constant value. So let me call a constant. And what is this constant? That is something which is fixed, a fixed value. But it is a fixed value, a value which is fixed. So let me call this fixed value by this, suppose k. This is my k, and this is a real number, a fixed real number. It can be any value. So how this function is defined? Whatever the input you give to this function, the output is always this k. This is fixed. So now I ask you to pause the video and answer me what is its range set. I hope you got the answer. The answer is very simple. When for every corresponding to every value of the input you are getting just the value k, it is fixed. So the range set of this function f is this singleton k. So how it looks like? Suppose if I choose this k to be 1, that is your fx is defined to be 1 for whatever x you choose. You are free to choose your x, and your x belongs to, whenever I'm not taking a set, it is assumed it is defined for the largest set of values we know. And what is the largest set under consideration we have is this set of real numbers. So this x belongs to this setting, basically this whole of real line. Let's now try to plot its graph. So whatever the input you take, in particular I have chosen this k to be 1. This k equals to 1 I'm fixing here. This is my 1 value over here. So whatever the values you give as input, you're free to choose from here on the real number line. The output is 1 itself. So suppose let me plot some values. Suppose this is the value of input, suppose -1, the output is 1. You choose a value 1, the output is 1 again. You choose a value 3/2, the output is here. So you are free to choose any value lying on this line. The output corresponding to that value is 1. So if you join all those such values, so this is how your function will look like. And in this particular case, you see the function is nothing but a line parallel to x-axis. This is your x-axis, and the value which we have in this particular case is simply 1. So the graph, sometimes you also write in short like this, y equals to 1, by representing this line parallel to x-axis. So we have understood what is a constant function. Now we'll try to understand the final outline, polynomial function. What is a polynomial function? So we use some standard notation for denoting this function, which is given by this p of x, and how this function is defined. It is defined by an expression of the form this is how this polynomial is defined. If this is a polynomial of degree n, this n denotes the degree of the polynomial. What it denotes its degree. And of course there is some important observation that this an cannot be equals to 0. I ask you to pause the video and try to think it yourself why. Because if you choose this an to be 0, then you are going to reduce its degree. And whenever we are defining a polynomial of some fixed degree, so the leading coefficient cannot be 0. Unless it's a constant polynomial. So this is how my polynomial function is defined. So let's take some example. And one more important question before moving ahead, that what is its domain of this function p, what it is, and what is its range. So if you observe, this px, this function p, is defined for every value of x. Whatever x you choose, you are free to give. And one more important thing, that these constants a0, a1, an, these a0, a1 till an, these all are real numbers. These are constants basically. And of course we put a condition on these constants that the leading cannot be 0. So let's come back to the problem. The domain of this function will be the set of all the input values for which it is defined. So the input values are, it is defined for all real values. And from here to where it is defined, the codomain will again be a real number set. I am choosing the largest set. But the range set need not be a whole set of real numbers. It might happen in certain case, in certain polynomials, it will be equal to the R itself. But in general, it will always be a subset of the codomain. Fine. So, and a range is collection of the images. So you collect all the images corresponding to the inputs. So let's give some examples of a polynomial function. If you recall an identity function, how it was defined, fx equals to x. So the identity function was a special case of the polynomial function, in which my a0 was 0, a1 was 1 times x, and the remaining constants are 0. Because either you can understand it like that, the highest degree is 1. So you're fixing n to be 1 and taking a1 to be 1 and a0 will be 0 in that particular case. So this was x. So identity function was a special kind of a polynomial function, you can say. Let's take another example. Suppose a polynomial is of second degree. Then we can make it like this. Suppose in particular I have chosen this. Then this is a polynomial of degree 2. Likewise, you can easily construct polynomials of any finite degree n. So we have covered today's lecture and its outline. Go through the previous videos if you are watching this video directly in the playlist to get a good clarity of the concept. In the coming videos, we're going to discuss more about some important type of functions using their graphs and properties. So do like the video. Thank you so much for watching and do subscribe the channel.